The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. When Jesus went into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter said in reply, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus said to him in reply, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my heavenly Father. And so I say to you, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of the netherworld shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." The Gospel of the Lord. Jesus Christ. If you weren't here over the Sunday Masses, I'm Father Bill Garrett. I'm the mission preacher here. We're going to have our mission talk tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. You're welcome to come early, and I'll lead the rosary 20 minutes ahead of time each evening. And I have been in discussion with Father Sal, so I'll have this morning's Mass as well as tomorrow's and Wednesday. And I'm also going to hear confessions in the morning as well as in the evening after I preach. So after Mass this morning, we'll allow the sacristan some time to sort of clean up the sanctuary, and then confessions are in the sacristy over there to my right. And you'll have the option. You can either go face-to-face or you can kneel behind the screen. It's all set up for you. In July of 1870, the bishops gathered in Rome from all over the world together with Pope Pius IX for the First Vatican Council, defined the doctrine of papal infallibility as a dogmatic teaching of the Church from the beginning that we all must believe as Catholics. What is that doctrine? That when the Pope speaks ex cathedra on a particular topic of faith and morals, he cannot err. He will be infallible as a gift from Jesus that we heard in this gospel. Ex cathedra means from the chair in Latin. You know, the term cathedral is taken from the fact that the bishop's chair is there. And the chair of the bishop represents the authority of the bishop to teach, in the name of Christ, the faith of the ages. And according to this gospel and the doctrine of papal primacy, based on this text from Matthew, the Pope has a specific function in the Church to be able to teach and to confirm and to strengthen all of us in the true faith, so that we're not tossed by every wind of opinion that presents itself as the new teaching or the new doctrine. This business of teaching from a chair is obviously scriptural and ecclesiastical language, but it's been adopted in the civil realm too, in the university setting. You might hear of so-and-so professor holds the endowed chair in economics at the University of Florida. The chair. See, again, there's that whole understanding of teaching from the chair. But you see, it would be a gross simplification of the role that Jesus has given to Peter and his successors as vicars of Christ to only focus in on papal infallibility because that doctrine has only been exercised twice in the history of the church. Once in 1854, when the Pope defined the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which we celebrate on December 8th. And then in 1951, Pope Pius XII defined the doctrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary into heaven. Not as if he invented it, the church believed it, but he confirmed all of us in the truth of that doctrine. And we celebrate that on August 15th. But as I say, it would be a gross oversimplification to think, well, I only need to listen to the Pope on those occasions, Well, really? Just twice? Since 1854? Jesus gave this office, this role, this prerogative and privilege to Peter and his successors. And the popes have indeed taught through the ages and confirmed us in the faith. But you see, the other extreme would be to take every word of the Pope as if it's infallible. That's what one writer today, a journalist, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, calls papalatry, as if everything is the same. There's a gradation in apostolic teaching that comes from the chair of St. Peter that the Pope holds. Now, why do we celebrate this feast on February 22nd? Well, you might be interested to know that historically there were actually two feasts that the Church of Rome celebrated to, as it were, acknowledge this role of St. Peter carried on through the ages. The first was on January 18th, and the other was on February 22nd. How could you have two Chair of Peter feasts? Well, historically, St. Peter was in two different cities as the bishop. Very quickly, after the persecutions started in Jerusalem, St. Peter moved to Antioch. And so it was in Antioch that he was bishop and pope for the first. And then eventually he leaves Antioch and moves to Rome. And so January 18th was traditionally the feast celebrated for Peter's chair in Rome, and February 22nd was Antioch. Well, that was a little too confusing, and so Pope John the 23rd in 1960 suppressed January 18th and gave us just this one particular feast day. I want to go back to something about the gradation in papal teachings, because it's one thing for the Pope to speak, and Pope Francis loves to do this, to speak off the cuff in an interview on an airplane. Who am I to judge? I don't need to even tell you the rest of that story because it's so famous. Who am I to judge? It's an interview off the cuff. It's not the same thing as an apostolic constitution, which is the highest sort of papal teaching. Below a constitution is a papal encyclical. And then there are the motu proprios, which address a specific issue, and then apostolic letters, and then apostolic exhortations, and papal rescripts, and papal briefs. All of these different things, not to mention the normal preaching of the Pope at the Sunday Mass, or the Angelus on Sunday, or the Wednesday audiences. They're all different levels. And so we have to take that into account when you see a headline blaring on the New York Times, Pope changes teaching, and then it turns out to be it was an interview by a journalist. So we have to be wise. The Lord has given us a sense of the faith too. And all of this is meant to strengthen us that Jesus is with his church. Father Sal and I, over breakfast yesterday, were talking about all the difficulties that the church has passed through. We're all aware of clergy malpractice and criminal behavior over the past 20 years. But let us not forget that just as Jesus was human and divine, so too is his body, the church. There's a human element, quite sinful and prone to fail, and there is the divine element. That's what we confess in the Creed every Sunday. I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And if Judas, who lived with Jesus for 3 years, could turn against him, we ought not be completely surprised or scandalized that bishops, priests, and others would turn against Jesus. We have his promise that the gates of hell shall not prevail against his church. We are given strength to stand firm on the rock of Peter's faith, to bring conversion, to bring light, not only to ourselves, but to the whole world.